Afterword. Nearly 4 decades have passed since I set off on my journey to the East. Over the years, I have realized that whether living in a holy place in India or a congested city in America, if we harmonize our lives in a spirit of devotion to the Lord, we can realize our eternal home. Shortly after returning to my family, I chose to live in an ashram in America. 2 times I was offered initiation from my guru, but I declined, feeling I was still undeserving. Neither would I cut my hair nor shave my head like all the other monks until I felt absolutely ready to commit myself to initiation. In the spring of 1973, we celebrated the appearance day of Lord Chaitanya, the incarnation of Krishna for this age, and fasted till moonrise. I secluded myself in a dark attic, the closest thing I could find to a cave, and vowed to chant 100,000 names of the Lord on my wooden prayer beads. After about 6 hours, a special inspiration sprung from within. I prayed, "My dear Lord, on your birthday, what gift can I offer you?" Another hour passed as I meditated on the Maha Mantra while chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. My question seemed to echo in the background. "My Lord, on your birthday, what can I offer you?" As I chanted the very last of the 100,000 names, a voice within my heart called an answer to my question. "Offer your hair." I knew what that meant. In the past, I had resolved to only sever my hair when I was ready to accept the vows of initiation from a spiritual master. I believed that this was the voice of the Lord confirming that I was now ready to take the vows which I had refused to accept repeatedly from many great souls on my path. So in the summer of 1973, I took the formal vows of initiation. At that time, Srila Prabhupada lovingly offered me the name Radhanath Das, servant of Lord Krishna, who is the beloved of Radha. To help me remember this special day, a friend gave me a framed photograph. Neither he nor I were prepared for the stunning reaction it would invoke. My body shivered, my mouth dropped. I could not believe what I was seeing. It was the same back cover photo from the pamphlet that I had been left with at the Randall's Island Rock Festival in New York. That was the day before I received the fateful call from Gary. The day before destiny pulled me away from the life I knew and into the realm where everything had to change. Weeks later, while crammed in the back of a van while hitchhiking in England, I had looked at it for the first time and been struck by the personality in that photograph, thinking, if anyone in this creation has spiritual bliss, it is this person. I lost the pamphlet after that day and never had another thought about it. Now, for the first time, I made the connection. The person in the photograph was my guru, Srila Prabhupada. I couldn't believe it. Destiny had led me in a full circle. At the very onset of my spiritual quest, the Lord had cryptically revealed who my guru was to be and the path I was to follow. The mystery was only disclosed on the day of my initiation. For the next 6 years, I resided in an austere monastery on a secluded mountaintop that one had to trudge a 3-mile muddy footpath through a forest to reach. The snow-blanketed winters were frigid there, and we had no heat. To bathe, we used a rock to break a layer of ice, then dipped in the icy water. Our sanitation system was to climb down a hill with a shovel in hand and bury our waste in the mud. In this place, I found myself living a similar life as Ganesham, day and night, serving the Lord's deity form, trying intensely to follow spiritual disciplines, and also tending cows. After years spent there in meditation on my Guru's compassion, I developed a deep longing to share the gifts I received with others. For the next 8 years, I served as a lecturer in colleges and universities, mainly in Ohio and Western Pennsylvania. Professors invited me to speak on topics such as philosophy, religion, sociology, interfaith, the Bhagavad-gita, and I also taught courses on vegetarian cooking. My beloved Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, departed from this world in Vrindavan on November 14th, 1977. That day is forever etched in my heart. In separation from him, I felt myself cast into emptiness. As relentless tears washed away all my patience, my heart cried out, "Where to go now? My dearest friend and guide has left me alone in this world of conflict and confusion. How will I carry on without his love, his smile, and his wisdom?" Now I had to realize his presence was within my heart. My sincerity would be tested by how I followed his sacred instructions to love Krishna and be an instrument of that love in my life. But for one who follows sincerely, the Guru is always present to guide and protect the disciple. Service in separation is a test of our gratitude and love, and that separation, I found, is also the sweetest union. In 1982, the Society of Devotees urged me to accept the vows of a Swami, a celibate monk exclusively dedicated to God's service. Extremely apprehensive, I resisted, because I felt that the honor and distinction that comes with being a Swami was a burden and a distraction. Besides that, I felt unworthy. However, appeals and pressures came repeatedly. What should I do? I prayed to Srila Prabhupada and the Lord. In the months that followed, my seniors and the voice of my Guru within revealed that the primary consideration should be how I could best serve the Lord. In May of 1982, I accepted the vows of sannyas. Conferred upon me at that time was the title Radhanath Swami. In 1983, I returned to India for the first time in 11 years. I traveled by airplane from London to New Delhi. The same trip that took me over 6 months when I hitchhiked was completed in less than 9 hours by airplane. The speed and safety of an airplane, though, could not compare with the life-changing experiences I'd had on the overland route. In India, I at last made pilgrimage to my most cherished home, Vrindavan. The unbounded joy of returning was mixed with the dismay of finding that almost all of my dear friends had passed away. I roamed from one hermitage to another only to receive the news that another friend was gone. I rushed to see one dear soul in particular, praying that I was not too late. Near the ancient ruins of a sandstone temple, I witnessed a sight that melted my heart. Sitting all alone on the stone steps was a personality whose glories were hidden from the world, but ever shining in my mind. It was dear Ganesham. His aged body had aged even more since I'd last seen him. His tiny form was now so thin and frail, it appeared that a strong breeze could knock him down to the ground. His tearful eyes gazed downward while he was slowly chanting Radha and Krishna's names. Gently, I sat right beside him. I wept in joy, whispering, "Ganesham Baba, do you remember me? I have remembered you every day of my life." Looking into my face, he squinted his childlike eyes, trying to make out who this intrusive stranger was. After long seconds passed, he broke the silence with an astonished whisper, "Krishnadas?" Suddenly tears burst from his eyes and streamed down his cheeks. Trembling with emotion, he cried out, "Krishnadas, is it you?" His shaking hand stroked my cheek as he gazed deeply into my eyes. Every muscle of his aged face tensed with feeling as he cried out, "Yes, it is you! Krishnadas, it is you!" With great difficulty he bowed his head onto the ground in gratitude to God. He rose slowly and timidly. He held my hand. His voice cracking, he rejoiced, "Come, Krishnadas! Gopi Jana Ballabha has been waiting so long for you. Please come." Ganesham slowly led me a few steps into that alleyway that I dreamt of so many times, and into his tiny closet temple. What a feast it was to both my eyes and soul to be once again face to face with Radha Gopijana Ballabha and their dearest Ganesham. He then proceeded to offer me his brajarotis and practically everything else he had. For hours I sat in a trance of gratitude. I was home. But my duties at the universities soon called me back to America. The next year I returned to Vrindavan, elated with the prospect of seeing dear Ganesham. Shivering with anticipation, I crossed the sewage canal and entered the house. But Radha Gopijana Ballabha's intimate closet temple was now nothing more than a closet for storage. The deities were gone. For over 60 years, that simple closet had been a glorious temple for the Lord, who appeared from the earth to accept the service of dear Ganesham. Now it was cluttered with brooms, cleaning buckets, underwear, and utensils. Just then the mother of the house interrupted her cooking to see what I wanted. "Where is Radha Gopijana Ballabha?" I inquired. "They found another home," she said. Where is Ganesham Baba?" I cried out. Whisking her hand upward toward heaven, she replied, "He has gone to Krishna." In a daze, I walked outside. There, I looked up into the Vrindavan sky and wept. I whispered, Ganesham, you will forever dwell in the closet of my heart. There I will ever find warmth under the blanket of your humility and be nourished by the brajarotis of your selfless love. One day in 1985, I was guiding about 20 devotees around Govardhan Hill in Vrindavan, when unprepared for a shocking surprise, I found myself face to face with my old friend Asim. Elated, we embraced in gratitude. In our last days together, 14 years before, we had also circled Govardhan Hill. It was as if we were meeting exactly where we left off. He was so proud that I was now a Swami. Finding a quiet place, we sat together. In the years since I had seen him, Asim had received a PhD in Sanskrit from Columbia University. In the academic world, he was Alan Shapiro and assisted prominent scholars the world over in Sanskrit research. But still, Vrindavan was his home. Asim smiled. "Wait here, Swamiji." A few minutes later, he returned with a cloth bag. An uncontrollable smile captured my face, for I knew what was in it. Marveling at the sweet will of the Lord, we gazed at the beauty of Govardhan Hill and celebrated our reunion with a feast of brajarotis and gur. Our precious friendship continued until, by the Lord's will, he passed away in 1998. My work as a Swami began to include more and more travel as I began to lecture to a wider and wider circle of people. In the summer of 1988, while in Los Angeles, a friend agreed to drive me up the coast to Big Sur to meet with a special friend, Father Bede Griffiths, a Catholic monk and author of several books that bridged the wisdom of Christianity and Hinduism. He had invited me to give a seminar in a monastery of Benedictine monks. We sped up Highway 1 with the windows open, savoring the Pacific breeze. At a gas station, my friend stopped to fill up the tank. From a phone booth on the roadside, I completed a call. Hanging up the phone, I noticed something peculiar. Right under my nose, the telephone directory was open to a page with the letters LIS on the top of the page. My long friend Gary's last name happened to be Liss. I scrolled my finger down the page on a whim and was shocked to find the name Gary Liss. This can't be, I thought. I haven't seen him since 1972 in that cave in Nepal. It's been 17 years. The address read Malibu Road in Malibu Beach. Looking up, I discovered a street sign directly over the phone booth. Malibu Road, it read. Gazing across the street and down the block, I saw a small house with the identical address. I reasoned that there must be thousands of people with the name Gary Liss in America. We had been warned to reach Big Sur by nightfall, and so, letting my rational mind override my excitement at the slim prospect of seeing my old friend, I noted the address and resolved to return and investigate when I could. A year later, in the summer of 1989, returning from India, I borrowed a car and drove alone from Los Angeles up to Malibu Beach. The mystery thickened. Where the small house had once stood was now nothing more than a vacant lot. I asked a neighbor, "What happened to that house?" "They tore it down last month." "Do you know the name of the person who lived there?" "No, I'm sorry." Perplexed, I just stood there, wondering what to do. Behind the empty lot was a tennis court, and behind that was a beautiful home right on the beachfront of the Pacific Ocean. With my shaved head and saffron robes, standing in a vacant lot, in a posh neighborhood of Malibu, I certainly must have stood out. Suddenly, from out of the house, came a middle-aged, well-groomed man with a thick neck and huge muscles that bulged from his arms and chest. The bodybuilder stared at me with suspicion, as I did him. He strutted across the tennis court in my direction. Maybe I shouldn't be standing here, I thought. As he came closer, though, I recognized that behind all those big muscles and years of aging was someone very familiar. Blissfully, I called out, "Gary! Gary! It's me! The sadhu from the cave! Do you remember?" "My brother, it's you!" he cried out. "I cannot believe my eyes!" The invisible hand of the Lord had brought us together again. 18 years had passed, and we both looked so different. I was still about 120 pounds, but my long locks had been replaced with a shaven head, and I wore saffron robes of a Swami. Gary's long hair and beard were gone. He was clean-shaven, his short hair neatly parted. His once skinny body was now rippling with huge muscles. It was strikingly obvious that we had taken very contrary paths. A sense of apprehension stirred in both of our hearts. Do I have anything in common with this person anymore? Gary asked, "What do you call yourself now? Richard, monk, Krishnadas, or what?" "People call me Radhanath Swami, but you could just call me Swami." "Well, Swami," he said, "a lot has changed in the past 18 years. Don't expect me to be what I used to be. Please, Gary, let's catch up on all those years." It turned out that he had torn down his old house on the lot we were standing on and was about to construct a new one. He invited me into the elegant home on the seashore that belonged to his aunt and uncle. Here we spent hours and hours catching up. From India, Gary told me, he had hitchhiked through all of Africa, South America, Central America, and then north through Mexico. He had spent almost 7 years as a hardcore traveler until he finally returned to the U.S. Inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, Gary decided to become a lawyer. While preparing for his law degree, he struggled to restore the ill health brought on by traveling by focusing on bodybuilding. In the years that passed, he graduated law school and got married. But in the meantime, he happened to become a regional champion bodybuilder. When later he was offered a position as a physical trainer at the prestigious Malibu gym, he opted to make that his career. Since then, he has made his living training the affluent people of Malibu, Hollywood, and Los Angeles. "Gary," I exclaimed, "I never could have believed that you would end up living on Malibu Beach as a physical trainer for the elite. The mysteries of life never cease to amaze me." In the opulent oceanfront home, we talked throughout the day and night. the song of the waves crashing upon the shore in the background. I sat cross-legged on the carpeted floor, leaned back against the wall, and noted, "Gary, although your body and social position have changed in every way, I find the same goodness, loyalty, and spiritual searching still live within you." All barriers of apprehension between us crumbled that night as we shared our thoughts from long ago. It was as if that cave in the Himalayan jungle had transformed into a luxurious home in Malibu Beach. It now seemed as if only moments passed since our last meeting, and we bonded on a higher level than ever before. After hearing my story, Gary had tears in his eyes. "Swami, I've thought about you thousands of times. I knew you would be doing something like this. I'm remembering that fateful evening in Crete when that voice called you away. After all these years, you're still following that inner call. Amazing." Memories swelled up like waves and then receded into the ocean of our grateful hearts. "Swami," Gary said, "our lives are totally opposite. What do we have in common? I'm a physical trainer and convince people that they'll be happy with a healthy, handsome body. But you're a Swami and convince them that they'll be happy if they realize that they're not the body at all, but an eternal soul." I had to smile and replied, "Because the Lord is in everyone's heart, the body is a temple of God. Gary, we can harmonize our talents. You teach people how to improve the temple, and I'll try to teach them what to do inside." Gary glowed with joy. "That's it," he said. "That's it. Our journey now has a new beginning." Over the years, I felt a great debt to the land and people of India. Often I would remember when I was a penniless boy in desperation at the Indian border, and I made a promise to that Sikh immigration agent. I had said, "Someday, I promise to do something good for your people." In 1986, I returned to make my permanent residence in India. I was feeling that where there is a great need, there is a special opportunity to serve. With this in mind, I settled in downtown Bombay. As a service to my guru and to the beautiful people of India, I was fortunate enough to help in establishing several temples as spiritual educational centers, ashrams to cultivate pure living, and a hospital that treats patients with both conventional and alternative methods of medicine with the aim of giving better quality of life to the body, mind, and soul. The hospital also reaches out with free medical camps in both the ordinary times and emergencies like terrorist acts, earthquakes, and tsunamis. Along with my lifelong friend, Ramesh Baba, and his followers, we offer an annual eye camp in Vrindavan to perform about 1,000 cataract surgeries each year. Over the years, we've had the opportunity to develop schools for academic, moral, and spiritual education, an orphanage for downtrodden children, a farm to demonstrate environmentally sustainable farming and cow protection, as well as kitchens that are currently feeding nutritious lunches to about 300,000 undernourished children daily in schools in the slums. Considering the rise of immorality and sectarian hatred, in several primary and high schools we offer courses in value education to combine students from Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Jain, Buddhist, and Parsi communities, teaching universal ethical values with stories and analogies from all the world's great religions, and to help inspire integrity-based leadership for the future. We hold weekly cultural programs at about 30 colleges in the area. But I must confess that this is all but an insufficient token in comparison to the treasures I have received from the people of India, both the saints and the ordinary people. They have blessed my life with Krishna, my beloved Guru, and endless opportunities to serve them and share this blessing with the world. In 1989, my mother and father visited me in India for the first time. It was a life-changing experience for them. They fell in love with the Bombay devotees, who have remained some of their dearest friends. When my beloved mother passed from this world in Chicago in 2004, my father and brothers requested that I deliver the eulogy and carry her ashes to India. They said, "She took such pride in what you're doing there, and she had such love for your people." During the ceremony on the bank of the Ganges, with almost 2,000 devotees sincerely praying and chanting, I placed her ashes into Mother Ganges. With tears of gratitude, I remembered how 34 years before I had accepted the Ganges as a mother. As the ashes merged into the flowing current, I prayed with a tearful whisper, "Today, the mother of my physical birth and a mother of my spiritual birth have united, and in this beautiful current they are flowing together to reach the sea. I pray, my dear Lord, please carry Mother's soul into the sea of your eternal grace." This moment was deeply symbolic for me. Yoga means union with our spiritual essence, and religion is to bring us back to that same essence. Bhakti Yoga is the science of transforming material into spiritual. By harmonizing our relationships, talents, and property in devotion to the Lord, our spiritual love awakens. In this way, the physical body and the spirit soul are united in purpose, and the love we share in this world reaches the eternal spiritual plane. The Bhagavad-gita reveals this mystery to be the perfection of yoga and the fulfillment of life. As I look back, I am forever grateful for the journey I traveled and to all the people who helped me to grow on the way. Never could I have imagined where the invisible hand of destiny was leading me. Through it all, I have come to realize that if only we cling to our sacred ideals, not being diverted by either successes or failures, we may find that amazing powers beyond our own are there to test us, protect us, and empower us. I pray that this simple story of mine may inspire all my readers with hope. Our true home awaits us at the end of life's perilous journey. It is a place of lasting peace, beckoning us to persevere until we too reunite with our lost love.